G'day guys, and welcome to another layout. This one is, so I'm actually adding some gesso to the page. Now, if you've been here for 5 minutes, you know that I don't always add gesso to a page. When you add gesso to a page, it seals the page. That is what gesso is, okay? It's just a paper sealant. You can use it on canvas. You can use it on a plethora of different surfaces. But when it comes to scrapbooking and mixed media, by adding gesso to a surface, essentially seals the cardstock that you're using. Therefore, it allows you to add more liquid to the page without it buckling and warping. Now, the reason I've put it on here today, I don't always put it on when I do mixed media, but today I've done it because when you put down, I used clear. So what I've actually used is the Finnabair clear gesso. And when you put it down, see how when you use the packaging technique, which is just using a scrap of plastic left over from one of your products, I like to scrunch mine up so it gives me sort of odd shaped blobs. And I'm using two different tones of each color. I'm creating a rainbow, and I like to just blob it down. Now, if I do this directly onto cardstock, it dries straight away and it soaks straight in and it doesn't have any movement to it. So when I'm in the mood to create something like this, the gesso gives me more time to add more layers, which adds more visual interest. So at the moment, I'm just doing one layer. I'm using two different colors. Oh, that was Jen saying hi. I'm using two different shades of colors. So I can tell you all of the colors if you'd like, and I'm using Distress ink, not Distress oxides. The inks, when you use them like this, oxides by name, they oxidize. So when you wet them, they are, you can wet them and they can wick out, they can do some really cool things. But sometimes I just like to play just with ink. And that's when I pull out my Distress ink and I get a really cool effect. As you can see what's happening here, I'm pulling in the heat tool every so often and drying it just so I can keep adding more blobs on top, and it allows me to layer it a little bit and it gives me a really busy look. Now, I'm not going to lie, this took me a little bit of time, but it was a little bit of time that I was more than happy to spend because I was enjoying watching. Actually, let me think, what was I doing when I did this? I think I was watching Heartland. The latest series has just dropped. So the latest season has just dropped. And I think I was watching that while I was doing this, and I was in the mood to just play and create a rainbow and just go to town with it. Now, it doesn't have to be picture perfect. It doesn't have to be a perfect rainbow going across the page or anything like that. I just wanted lots of bright, bold color. And it was about here that I started to get a really big headache, like bordering on a migraine. And it was nothing to do with my craft room. It was all to do with my husband. He was working on a vehicle and working on one of our vehicles, and he was working right next to my craft room, and it wasn't a problem, but the chemicals he was using gave me the biggest headache, and I still feel a bit not so great. Now, the pink there, I did come back in with some more festive berries because I felt like it needed more of the two-toned look. So the colours that I used in the Distress ink, I used Festive Berries and KITSCH Flamingo, Carved Pumpkin Squeezed Lemonade, Mustard Seed and Wild Honey, Cracked Pistachio, Salvaged Patina, and a little bit of peacock feathers as well, and Salty Ocean and Mermaid Lagoon with Wilted Violet, Dusty Concord, and a little tiny bit of seedless preserves. Now, can you see what I just did then? So I pulled out my shimmer pen from Uniquely Creative, and it's the clear one, and I just squeezed it onto my palette, and I used the same technique to put it onto the page. That way I got the same sort of blobs, and I love it. It looked so cool. I got the shimmery glitter, but it wasn't directly from the pen. You know, it's usually I use it on top of a letter, or I use it on top of a shape or something like that. But using it like that as a paint and using a different tool to get it onto the paper, I love it. I loved how it looked. So and then I wanted to bring the rainbow in just a bit more. I don't use my distress inks nearly enough. I really don't. They are beautiful, they're bright, they're bold, and can you see it's just coming together, and I'm loving it. Now I had this little tiny strip left, and I thought, what can I do with it? And I thought, oh, maybe I could sort of do a brick look down the bottom here. And because I had this big white space at the bottom, which would have been perfect for the title, but I had a different idea where I wanted the title to go. So here I am creating a larger, I liked the strips, but they weren't working for me the way they were. I needed them to be kind of chunkier. Now, I just used another bit of the scrap cardstock, and I swiped, because I've got the small 1-inch cubes, you can swipe them across your paper like that and create a really cool look. I pulled out an embossing folder, and you'll be able to see this because this is on. Don't do that. Did you see what happened? See how my it literally lifted up my rubber mat back into my machine. I nearly had a coronary because I thought I nearly broke it again, but I didn't. It's okay. So I embossed the rainbow that I just created. I'm just very roughly cutting out some strips, and I've got the idea in my head was bricks. So I was thinking of, I had like speech bubbles in my brain, because this photo is of Jen. She was laying down, she was watching something, and going back, I mean, this is like 10 years ago now, but going back then, she used to put the headphones on, and they're the biggest headphones back then, like compared to now. And I had these massive headphones, and because they were noise cancelling, everything going on around her, she had no idea. And she was in La La Land, I kid you not. And she fell asleep, and she used to do this all the time. Whenever we put headphones on her, she'd just pass out, and it was hilarious. Anyway, so I was thinking speech bubbles. Then I cut out the rainbow, but I didn't want the rainbow at the bottom to be in rainbow order. I wanted it to sort of be a bit more jumbled than that, and just reflecting the same colours as the rainbow burst at the top, basically. Now, it was at this point, because I just cut it into squares, and I'm like, it doesn't look right. It looks weird. Something looks wrong. So I then decided to just curve the edges. Now I've gone along and distressed the edges of all these little blobs and bricks, speech bubbles, whatever you want to call them. And I just decided that if I just go and sort of curve the edges a little bit, I was happy with that. Now you saw me before, I ran a little bit of Lost Shadow Distress Oxide spray. I run that across the bottom, and it wasn't dark enough. It just wasn't right. This colour still was not right. Apologies. That's my go and get the kids from school alarm. And yeah, I wasn't sold. I genuinely thought, uh-oh, I've wrecked it. That's what I thought. But like I say to you guys, I will work with the good, I will show you guys the good, the bad, the ugly. When I stuff up, I'll show you. And you can see, I don't know why I wanted a grey at the bottom. I think because I always lean towards black when I do the brights, and then I do a black, it helps it really pop. So I thought, no, I'm going to go for a more softer, more neutral colour this time. At this point, my head was thumping, and I've got to tell you, I was lost. I was very, very lost. I wasn't sure what direction this was actually going to go in and land in. I really wasn't sure. But trust me, I do come back. I haven't actually gone anywhere. I am still there. And I was just really, this is where I was making the decision, do I just commit with the black or what do I do? So I put the ink on my, I don't know why I put it on there, but I think it needed to be wider. So I ran with wider for the border. Maybe that's what I need. Then I realized the finger dauber is too dense. I'm getting too much color. I needed to be more blended. And then that still wasn't working. It was not working. So that's when I realized, move on to your title. Once you work out your title, then we'll go from there. So what you saw me do then is I used my compass to figure out the arch in which I want my title to go on. And I've done that onto my wax paper. Super simple way of getting your title in an arch on your paper. Okay? So sometimes, I mean, if we use our Cricut, we can do it perfectly. We can do all of those sort of things. But sometimes, getting back to basics, this is a really easy way of getting an arch. Go to Kmart, buy yourself a $1 compass. I swear you will use it so much, so much when it comes to your scrapbooking. And it really is. See how it sits on there, and you can see and you can move it around and you can do what you want with it. Now this is where I decided, okay, I need to come in on the bottom half to tie the grey in. Maybe I just need a bit more grey and see if that will work. Now, it was at this point I realised, and it wasn't until I got almost to the end here that I went, oh, that's still not popping. It's not working. So I bit the bullet and I went with black. I pulled out the black because it wasn't working, because it wasn't dark enough. Can you see, as soon as I add the black on there, this is black soot in the Distress Oxide, and it worked perfectly and it pops. This is where sometimes you just need to use the contrasting color, like the polar opposite of what you're using. So I know I use black a fair bit, but black is a really good, see how it just gives you more definition. That's what I love. Now, you can see here, I didn't cut out my, I should have cut my arch. I didn't cut my arch at that point, and I glued down a letter, and I was stuck. So in an ideal world, when you do your arch and you work out your letters, you work out how you like it, cut your arch out and then hold it on your paper so you can use it to butt your letters up to, and then it works perfectly. But as I said earlier, I had a pounding headache by this point. Now, I like the title where it is, but I needed to bring in a little bit more black. And this is where I just went, you know what? I need to stop, because there's something wasn't working and I didn't know what it was. Then I did this. Look how different that is. And I think that was it. That's all I needed to do. So you've got the shimmer, you've got the nice title, you've got all the rainbows. It's all built from scratch and I love how it turned out. The embossing, as soon as I just very gently touched the top of the embossing with the black soot distress ink, worked perfectly. Exactly what it needed. So just keep going, guys. Always just take one more step and you will be able to get the end result that you're working towards. Thanks so much, guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye for now.